Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well trained, well equipped, and battle hardened. He will fight savagely. But this is the year 1944.
Hello, welcome to part 2 of Tutorial 4 from the Atlantic Wall Campaign game series. In this video, we'll finish placing the initial German forces and cover the setup of the game turn record track for the June 6th AM game turn. Now, just one reminder, at times Tutorial 4 presents a lot of written information on screen. Please make frequent use of the pause button to make sure you don't miss anything. Good, with that out of the way, let's continue with the 21st Panzer Division in section 38.8.2. Okay, in this group of entries, the parent unit has been reduced by 2 steps, as indicated by the -2 in brackets, and 2 breakdown units will be placed on the map, 1 for each step reduction. Now, for a 3-step battalion, reductions are handled like this. For the first step loss, just flip the unit over to its 2-step reduced side. Then, for the second step loss, place a red spade marker under the unit to indicate it has been reduced to 1 step. Good so far. Next, the abbreviation PZGD refers to Panzer Grenadier or Armored Infantry, indicated by this unit type symbol. Panzer Grenadier units, if eligible, use these breakdown counters. So, putting it all together, the entries would be represented by these counters, which make up the battalion's 3 companies. And to keep track, I would make this entry on my post-it note for the 21st Panzer Division. Okay, the next set of entries is another example of the same mechanic, except that they refer to motorized infantry, represented by this unit type symbol, and using these breakdown counters. Now, looking at the entry for these units, and the previous entry, you can see why I make detailed notes. Different types of breakdown units use the same numbers and letters on their counters, so you'll often need more information to find them or distinguish them from others. Good, I'll be coming back to breakdown units in a few minutes, but for now let's keep going in the same order as section 38.8.2. Next, the designation in this entry is incorrect. Here is the correct version, and the counter it refers to, which also functions as the parent unit for all 4 of the following breakdown units. Now, it should be noted that only these 2 counters can be accounted for by the Gauss breakdown rules. The other 3 Z-steps represent small units which were in the area at the time of the invasion and were subordinate to the 21st Panzer Division, but did not originally come from Panzerjägerabteilung 200. Alright, the next 3 units are not placed on the battlefield map, but instead on the strategic map in the Lycée box. You can ignore this activation reference. It refers to Scenario 6, but for the campaign, all 3 units activate on the June 6th night game turn, as indicated by this entry in section 40.3.4. Next, the abbreviation PZJ means Panzerjäger or Tank Hunter. I'll be discussing Panzerjäger units and their relevance to special stacking rules in a future video. Good, moving along to these 2 entries. The abbreviation ENG refers to engineer units, indicated by the horizontal E in their unit type symbol. For all intents and purposes, the abbreviations ENG and PIO are interchangeable, and German units labeled with PIO qualify as engineer units for all applicable rules. Alright, looking at these 2 entries, The abbreviation AUFK stands for Aufklärung, or reconnaissance, indicated by this unit type symbol. German counters labeled with AUFK qualify as recon units for all applicable rules. Good, that's it for the 21st Panzer Division. Let's move on to the rest of section 38.8.2. First off, this entry contains a typo. Here is the correct version and the unit it refers to. Next, this group of entries needs to be clarified. First, any entry beginning with the abbreviation BKN indicates that the parent unit is broken down into the maximum number of breakdown units and is therefore placed in one of the German units broken down boxes found on maps A or C. Now, under normal circumstances, a three-step infantry battalion like this one could be broken down into 3 1-2-6 infantry breakdown companies, but as you've probably noticed, there are only 2 in the list of entries. This is because the missing company has been assigned to garrison a WN or STP unit and is not represented by a counter at the start of the campaign. Whenever you find a similar group of entries, like this one that doesn't add up to the correct number of breakdown units, or like these OST battalions which have no breakdown units at all, you'll know what's happening. The missing elements are manning resistance nests somewhere along the Norman coast. Good. Now, be careful with the next entry. It refers to a German engineer breakdown unit that could easily be mistaken for a 1-2-6 infantry company since they have the same combat factors. It is not part of the 726th Infantry Regiment, however. Instead, its parent unit is this engineer company appearing further down the list. Alright, moving on. This entry deserves quite a bit of attention. For an artillery battalion, a -2 in brackets does not indicate a 2-step reduction. Artillery battalions have only 1 step, so that would be impossible. Instead, the -2 indicates that 2 batteries have been detached from the unit. This is represented by placing 2 red spade markers under the battalion's counter. For each spade marker, the battalion's barrage and defense factor are reduced by 1. So here, for example, the unit would initially have a barrage factor of 2 instead of 4, and a defense factor of 1 instead of 3. This unit, on the other hand, has had just 1 battery detached and would therefore have its barrage and defense factors reduced by only 1. And just to be clear, apart from these 2 subtractions, artillery battalions with detached batteries are otherwise treated as normal 1-step units for all other intents and purposes. Now, sometimes detached batteries are not directly represented in the game and can only be found in these notes on the front of the WN and STP units they've been assigned to. In other cases, they are represented by specific counters, as in this group of entries, where there are 2 Z-step units, 1 for each detached battery. Don't worry about any of this for now, though. Just continue placing the units as indicated. In a later video, I'll be looking at how reduced artillery battalions can be reunited with their missing batteries, or with similar substitutes. Good. With that out of the way, there are just a few more details to clear up. Now, in Gauss, there are 2 types of German infantry breakdown units. 1-2-6 counters, like this one, and 2-2-6 counters, like this one. There are rules for determining which is used for a given parent unit, but for now, just be sure to use the 2-2-6 version with these 3 entries. Next, the abbreviation FUS refers to Fusilier units, and ERSTZ refers to ersatz or replacement units. Okay, when you get to this group of entries, be sure to use an engineer breakdown counter. Good. Next, the abbreviation FS stands for Fallschirmjäger or paratrooper. Blue counters like these normally represent Luftwaffe units, which have special rules governing their usage. But these 5 units begin the campaign subordinate to the 91st Infantry Division and are considered standard infantry and engineer units for all intents and purposes. In other words, they are part of the 91st, just like any other unit from the division. All right, the abbreviation A&E stands for Ausbildung und Ersatz, or training and replacement, and refers to this entry and counter. Next, these 2 entries represent an infantry battalion that begins the campaign occupying an ET2 or Level 2 field work. Both the counter and marker are placed in the same hex with the unit under the ET2. Note that I've turned the infantry battalion 45 degrees counterclockwise to indicate that it is inactive at the start of the June 6th AM game turn. Okay, let's just take a quick look at these entries. The parent unit has been completely broken down and is placed in the German unit's broken down box. Its batteries have been divided into these 3 Z-step units. And finally, the Cherbourg Garrison is a special formation of 8 units that is governed by several special rules. It consists of these 7 units listed in section 38.8.2 and 1 infantry battalion from the 709th Division, included according to Atlantic Wall 40.3.0. I suggest marking these units in some way to indicate that they are inactive until Land Front Cherbourg is declared later in the campaign. Good. Well, that's the end of the initial German setup. All units from the 21st Panzer, 716th, 352nd, 91st, 709th, and 243rd Infantry Divisions should now be placed either on the battlefield or strategic maps. The remaining counters from the 711th Infantry Division should be kept handy. They activate and enter the battlefield map according to Atlantic Wall 40.3.0. Alright, just one thing left, the game turn record track. First, place the game day marker in the June 6th box and the game turn marker in the AM box to indicate the time of day. Ignore these references. The airborne and amphibious assault stages take place at the beginning of the June 6th AM game turn. Next, according to Atlantic Wall 19.2.1, put an atmospheric condition marker in both partial overcast boxes, a rain marker in both no rain boxes, and a ground condition marker in both dry boxes. By the way, the different colors of these markers have no special significance or impact on gameplay. Okay, that's it for Tutorial 4. You're ready to move on to the Airborne Assault Stage. As always, if you have any comments or questions, notice a mistake, or think something else should be included in the video, please let me know. Any and all feedback is appreciated. And with that, thanks for watching, and see you in Tutorial 5.